Twitch is good. YouTube is good. And we are live. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us again. Sorry for the light technical difficulties in the beginning. We wanted to make sure Twitch was running, YouTube is running. We are a highly technical team, and for some reason, this speaker series has challenged our technicals quite a bit. Jay, how you doing in Dubai?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. Jay's in Dubai. I'm in LA as usual. This is part 4 of our speaker series, Playtime Sessions. Thank you again for joining us for part 4. So far, I'm going to go down my list. We've hit health and wellness. We've hit gaming with Nolan Bushnell, the founder, creator of Atari. We hit technology, where we talked about data and blockchain with 2 fantastic humans. And today, we're going to hit a bit of it's a mix of marketing and sponsorships and a little bit of advertising sprinkled in there, because this one today, the first session, is with Ms. Tatiana Taka, and I hope I pronounced her last name correctly. She's the director of esports at Momentum Worldwide. And if you know anything about Momentum, fantastic worldwide. They are truly worldwide. They are in, I think, 40-something countries, 30-something countries. They're all over. And with esports now, I met Tatiana in New York right before this virus hit in February. And we talked about just campaigns, just pure campaigns. And here we are now, 3-4 months fast forwarded, and all those campaigns kind of took a hit. So Jay, we're about to learn from her. She just got a huge campaign done yesterday, 2 days ago. So we're about to hear from her. So I'm going to call her on right now. And we have a real good one today. Jay, maybe you could talk about in this 2 seconds, your session in the second panel.
Sure. Well, obviously looking forward to hearing what Tatiana has to say on the agency side, and how, spends have gone from physical to virtual, especially in the COVID times. For the second session, we'll have Sam Cook on, who's the MD and co-founder of Esports Insider, which is a huge, obviously, as you know, one of the biggest content solutions in the space. They've got a huge I'd say website that news website that gives everything that you need to know about the esports space, and they've obviously ventured out into events. They do a few events themselves, and have gotten into the content space as well, developing sponsorships and whatnot. So it'd be good to hear from his side how things are developing more on the content side of things.
Yeah, and we've known obviously about Insider for a long time. They do great work, and it's truly really great work. I go to them first in the morning, just with a couple other sites like Observer and things like that. But yeah, it's going to be a great one. First session coming up right now. We're going to introduce Miss Tatiana coming up right now. And there she is, Miss Tatiana. How are you?
Good. How are you? Good to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. Really quickly, we're going to say goodbye to Jay here and bring him in on the second session. So
looking forward to hearing what you have to say, T. I'll see you guys later. I'm gonna jump off. Take it easy.
Sure.
Thank you. Miss Tatiana, thank you so much for being here today. I gave a little intro about you, the best I could, but best from yourself. Tell our audience a little bit about yourself, what's going on at Momentum, and your work in esports, and how you kind of came into this.
Sounds great. Absolutely. So essentially, I lead Momentum's esports and gaming practice. So we do a lot of work with brands across their sponsorship, experiential activation, things like that. And as it relates to esports and gaming, I'm the subject matter expert. So I work very closely with brands on, firstly, getting them educated and understanding the opportunities around esports and gaming, because it's obviously a very growing space, and one that a lot of brands want to or have an increasing interest in getting more involved. So allowing them to kind of see those opportunities, where the roles are for them to get more involved, will help them develop a strategic approach, find the right partners, navigate the scene, and ultimately help them activate. So when it comes to the esports and gaming space, is obviously a very fragmented scene. There are a lot of different properties, a lot of different potential partners that and success stories that brand can find. And it tends to be quite flexible as well. So navigating that ecosystem, really helping them to understand, okay, well, leagues of assets and teams can get me these types of assets, and I'm really more interested in lifestyle over performance, over performance-driven content pieces. So, depending on where those interest KPIs and typical sponsorships that they already kind of have exposure to work, will help them identify those opportunities.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because you mentioned something there that obviously in gaming and esports, it's a hot time. We all got a boost from it with everything that's going on. But in all honesty, it was going to probably get its boost in this coming year, next year. It was just about to come. It was at a boiling point anyway. You had brands figuring it out. They're just trying to figure it out. So have you seen which part of the process have you seen more, I guess, I don't want to say difficult, but engaging? Is it the education part of it? Because that's obviously the massaging of it to get them feeling good. Brands have no budget line that says esports and gaming in there until now. Or is it more of the closing the deal? They get it, they understand it, but now they, how to put what money in. I'm comfortable with the billboard on the 405 freeway. I'm comfortable with the, Super Bowl ad that we spent all that money for. What have you seen, the education side or maybe the closing of the deal side?
Every brand is on a bit of a different journey as it relates to esports, and in many cases it depends as well. What is naturally their role in gaming as a depending on the product. If it's a technology brand, they might be more kind of advanced with their relationship with esports and gaming, for instance. So every brand is definitely in a different spot, and in some cases there are brands that are interested and can see an opportunity but don't necessarily know how. And then there are others that actually don't recognize what a phenomenal opportunity they do have and where those fits can take place. So I'd say it's definitely very different. As you're mentioning, it's growing significantly. The case studies and brand engagement is definitely evolving as well from logo slaps to much more thoughtful partnerships. And the opportunity for that brands can take is really quite phenomenal. So, when I work with brands, I really help them try to consider going beyond, typical sponsorship assets and logo inclusions into a more thoughtful partnership, because there really is a ton of white space. There's a lot of flexibility, and and the esports and gaming properties themselves, they want to work with brands. They want to get some work and case studies and they want to give more value to their audiences. So I find in general, esports wants to kind of work with the brands on what, they're looking to achieve. And I come in to help fit those right pieces. And there's just, I'm seeing constantly so many different ways to approach and types of assets to pursue.
Yeah, I agree with the last part more because I'll allude it and I just go right into it. We jumped right into it too, and I think it's excellent because you have so much to say on this. We want to pick your brain on do you think that it's more difficult for the brand again, I don't want to use the word difficult. Do you think it's difficult to engage the brand side to the esports side because they don't understand it? They need to get in. They understand they're maybe falling behind very quickly. And I understand every esports team wants to work with brands, but I've had a very difficult time working with esports teams and players individually, as opposed to a very easy time working with brands, even though they don't know what's going on and everything. So if you can massage that story into them and help them along the way, I found that it was actually easier to work with the brands, ironically, rather than the teams and stuff, even though everybody would say, flash a BMW and all these teams run up asking for their bids and stuff. But I found it the other way. Have you seen it differently or the same?
Definitely case by case. I think the interesting thing is we're seeing a much stronger increase in acceptance and adoption of esports and gaming. There's a lot of stereotypes. There's a lot of perceptions that go against stereotypes that go against gaming that we're really starting to see removed, or at least have a better understanding of. But yes, that education first and foremost is quite important. I'd say from an esports property side, what's interesting is there's been obviously a lot more evolution how esports properties are run. There's a lot of traditional sports teams investing in it. There's a lot of traditional sports, folks moving into esports, and what that allows for is a greater opportunity for to essentially execute for brands. So esports offering for brands has evolved alongside brands' interest in it. So, everything is continuing to grow. I'd say during COVID in particular, that case study, that interest, that proof point of esports being this social, engaging, creative, and flexible space has only just proven to be even more true than before.
Yeah, I mean, and like that expedited process, and it's going to be even more difficult to educate those brands because the time is now shortened. The cycle is now getting a little shorter. So I'm having to play catch up where it used to be 5 or 6 meetings to get to, okay, we understand. Now it's having to be 2 or 3 meetings. And very quickly, it's going to be like, did you get it? Do you understand the esports scenario? Because there's so much information out there now. And it's been being bombarded everywhere, ESPN, BBC, racing, this and that brands need to have someone, A, for education inside the business, and B, for biz dev. That's my 2 cents about it, because without the education part, you're never going to understand it. Without the biz dev side, you can't hook any teams. I will segue that straight into 2 days ago, or yesterday, I apologize, you had an event. And you were able to marry 2 different things that, ironically, 6 months ago, a lot of people would have not thought about. Talk about that, and talk about the campaign a little bit, what you did, but that aspect of how you were able to marry those 2 things in a time that's so weird, but it had nothing to do with COVID at all. I want to reiterate, nothing. And yet it was a massively successful campaign for a candy company or a pastry company. So please tell us about yesterday.
Sure. So essentially one of our clients is Mondelez, and Mondelez has a bunch of products within the portfolio, Nutter Butter being one of them. And so what we did for Nutter Butter is we partnered with 8 different influencers, as well as a headliner, Steve Aoki, musician, obviously, who has a lot of roots and kind of endemic kind of personality within the gaming space. And we programmed a 12-hour marathon of nutty content living on Twitch. So, each influencer was promoting Nutter Butter throughout the week leading up to what we called the Day of Nuttiness. And each influencer was programmed with back-to-back content. And the whole idea is that Twitch and influencers is such a nutty place, full of amazing personalities and great organic content, and let's kind of bring together the best of that and do content twists. So, if you're a Fortnite influencer and you're playing Fortnite, how can we, during your 2-hour segment, kind of twist up the content and make it different, unique, and more engaging? So, from those full 12 hours, each influencer kind of did their own their own thing, what they knew worked well for their audience. For instance, we started with NMPLOL, and he likes to bake and cook a lot. So he cooked with his girlfriend, an entire Nutter Butter cake. And then we had folks who like to do IRL streams, and they did, like Mizkif did a Deal or No Deal style gameplay with someone from his Twitch chat, all themed Nutter Butter, and he gave gift subs to the fans who ended up winning. Nice. And then we twisted up gameplay with World of Warcraft, Valorant, Fortnite. We had Bukha, for instance, playing Fortnite, and people could vote for different challenges. I'm going to vote for you to wear the banana suit, or can you win a game but without healing the entire time? So a really fun kind of all in the theme of nuttiness and fun and different type of content twists, leading into Steve Aoki, who played some Fortnite and gave us a phenomenal tour of his home. So yeah, it was really, what was quite cool about that is the customization, right? This isn't just logo slap. There was an incredible level of customization, messaging. It's a brand bringing value to audiences, saying, okay, we know what you love. Now let's give you something else that changes up what you might enjoy viewing.
Yeah, and I think you guys absolutely killed it, because the branding was so key, and you guys were able to take Nutter Butter for our EU and Dubai friends out there, because I know there's a lot of them today from UK. Nutter Butter is a cookie, peanut butter cookie, kind of like an Oreo smashed in between, that looks like a peanut. The shape of the cookie looks like a peanut, and everything about it is peanut and nutty. And so, American advertisement, they put peanuts in the commercials, and they're the kind of haywire peanut. And so when she did this, a day of nuttiness, as we heard, everything came together. And that's amazing, because, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, I'm not saying it would have looked differently, but it would have maybe sounded differently. We have to get creative these days. We have to get ultra creative, because everybody's at home. We can't have the production value of before. Usually you would have called everybody into one. Well, if everybody, assuming is usually in LA, the streamers and stuff, you would have had them come into like a streaming house or a production studio, and you would have had the day of nuttiness in a house or in a location. Very rarely, a year ago, you would have these global events. I'm not saying very rarely, but now they're a commonplace.
Yeah, something like this certainly could have been done and can be thought out 100% 6 months ago. And we've seen some really phenomenal brand activations through Twitch influencers, through gaming influencers in general. But what this really shows is the flexibility that exists on platforms like Twitch, where influencers have a lot of flexibility on their own platform. They have their own scale and following, and they're willing to kind of twist up their own content and work with a brand. But what I'd say definitely is a great showcase of esports during, or rather, this was more of a gaming activation during COVID. There's just the core content and the core concept didn't necessarily need to be changed for a COVID world. It worked really well. There are certain things we maybe could have done that that isn't possible, but the core concept.
Oh, no, I mean, absolutely, yeah. You guys killed it. What I was saying is, 6 months ago, I don't think that this innovation, we got creative really quickly. And 6 months ago, it would have been maybe, I'm not saying your campaign, our campaigns, it might have been a little more dry. It would have been maybe the same old, the same arena. We're out here in Orange County, so we have the esports arena. Fantastic guys, Tim and Tom over there. But still, like, it's just same old. Now you see production values going crazy, even with Aoki, with what they're doing with Fortnite. And you guys were able to now get him and play Fortnite. Just 3 weeks ago or a month ago, he was one of the DJs on that lineup that is, DJing essentially. Do you remember that about a month ago? So it was him, Dylan Francis, and Deadmau5. And they got the DJ. So if for the fans out there, if you remember, first it was Travis Scott. He did a really crazy production value. And then it went to Dylan Francis, Deadmau5, and Steve Aoki, where you could watch on the big screen on the island on season 3 map that you could see them DJing. Segueing that into music, because I see you brought in Steve Aoki. You have these relationships with musicians in New York and around the world. Is music a big part of what you guys see in esports? Is that a sector where it's important for you guys to focus on for branding purposes and activations?
You know, I think there's two kind of things we can almost we can think about here. One is esports, which is more competitive gaming, esports teams, leagues, and you know, the spectator experience of watching competition. And then there's more of the lifestyle side that's a little bit more gaming focused, and you know, has you know, pop culture and more of a role of pop culture as it relates to influencers and all of that. So on that gaming influencer side, absolutely. I mean, 100%. There's so many musicians in particular, as well as sports pros, have been gaming with gaming influencers. They've been you know, they've been participating in pro-ams. They've been streaming to their own channels. They, you know, they have their own streaming channels now. And 100%, I think that increase and relevance of music and gaming continues to skyrocket. And I think we can even look at game releases as well. You know, what celebrities naturally fit within that. I think it's all about being really credible as well. You know, Steve Aoki is one who plays a lot of Warzone, and he played Fortnite. And so for someone like him, it's a very natural fit. It was a very natural fit for Marshmello and for Travis Scott. You know, so it's important to keep that credibility alongside the any games you're partnering with talent. On the esports side, there's been a lot of adoption of you know, music performances before esports matches and things like that. And I think that's a thing we'll continue to see grow as well. Sorry, Kevin, it looks like you're on mute for me. I cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello? Good. Okay. I don't know what happened. I was saying it seems like what you said there was very important about the traditional sports stars, about the musicians, but you got a lot of NBA stars, you got a lot of NFL stars, more NBA than anybody that I've seen. And then you got the racing stars that have coming in and musicians in troves as well. But you can really see the authenticity coming out if the gamer or the player is not a gamer or is a gamer. So what you said there was, you know, Steve Aoki, he's a natural gamer. We've known that he owned an esports team in 2014 and 15. Like, people forget that.
Yeah.
He not bought it, he created and sold it before all this hype. You know, in 17, he was already exited, but now he's back. And then we heard about Rick Fox. That was like the really traditional, obviously, sports star. And then FaZe Clan and all the Migos and some of the Hollywood actors that jumped in. And then David Beckham, just 2 days ago, David Beckham jumped in, and that was the biggest pump to all of us. I think, I know with our new endeavors in London, everyone texted me and they said, is this a problem? And I said, oh my goodness, yes, it's a problem. Yes, it's you know, like, so happy. But I've also fallen into—
as a Man United fan, I was really excited to see that.
I mean, that's huge for all of us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care how you spin it. I mean, we need people like this in, and he's such an intelligent man that we love to have him in. But I'll argue that it's very difficult to get the non-authentic stars, even LeBron James tomorrow. Even though Bronny, his son, plays, if LeBron came to me and said, hey, make me a streamer, I'd say, man, this is going to be really difficult. You know, it looks and seems really easy. Of course, he can sell any brand, but imagine the barrier to entry for those brands because he's LeBron James. So not every gamer is created equal. Not every streamer is created equal. I have a streamer from Turkey, and I have a streamer from Turkey, two kids from Turkey. One speaks German and English, one very broken English. One of them, that broken English, has 10 times the followers of this one. But the brands pay this one, the English-speaking one, 10 times the money of this one. So that's a broken disconnect there. That's a bit of a disconnect because he has 1 million followers and the 100,000 followers is making 10 times as more just because of the English conversion. So that shows the lack of the sophistication of the market, because if Doritos is Doritos, Coca-Cola is Coca-Cola, it doesn't speak a language. We're just not there yet. Have you also seen working with them, like, you know, not all brands, not all streamers, not all things are created equally in esports?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, every time I look at, you know, each property has their own scale, has their own ability to kind of drive messaging and impressions and all of that. And I think it's also, getting an understanding, kind of balancing out what's the scale versus, what are they actually willing to do? Are they willing to kind of go above and beyond? Are they, willing to do something that, you were originally envisioning? So with something like that, certainly there's a lot. That's why it's really important to, to be able to kind of understand the scene and have a clear goal of what you're trying to achieve when you get into esports, because there's a lot of growth, and that's a perfect place for a brand to be. When it comes to traditional sports and music and entertainment, let's say, those sponsorship areas have been well established for several years, whereas esports can deliver a lot for a brand, but give you a lot more customization of what you're looking for.
Man, you keep segueing into new things. Customization, that's a huge topic. That's just the tip of the iceberg, right? In-game overlays, in-game advertisement is around the corner. We all have seen those, in the back ends, in the back room of offices being, I'm sure you've seen a couple of really cool stuff that the in-game ad, it's amazing what's about to happen in in-game ads. And then in 2, 3, or 5 years, add VR, AR, more AR than anything. And that's just going to be amazing too. Just going straight into that, I got a question here for you from someone that sent in, and I asked you this in our emails, but this was something that comes up in all of it. We like to ask our friends out there, where is esports headed in 5 years? Are we in a current bubble? And if so, what does that even mean, and how to overcome it? So first, let's go. Where is esports headed in 5 years?
Well, what I like to say for any nerds out there is esports isn't in its final form. So, as I've said this kind of a few times, right? It's continually growing. It's continually evolving. Where esports is in 5 years, we're going to continue to see more brands get involved. We're going to continue to see more, I believe, more consolidation and bigger properties continue to grow. I think we'll continue to see the same titles, really participate in esports as well as new titles. I think that's always a really fun thing about it, right? It's going to be one where trends. It's really important to tap into trends in the moment, as well as lean on the things that we know are kind of quite long term and have that continued growth. I think we'll see, like I said, we'll see more brands get involved. We'll see more trends, continue to be more established. For instance, a trend that I like to reference quite a bit is lifestyle merchandise and fashion, and how that has become such a crucial part of the esports scene. Just I think it was last week, Fnatic announced their partnership with Louis Vuitton with Riot Games before that, Nike, Adidas.
Seems to be like a Riot Games, League of Legends thing here, because I'm not going to say Fnatic, he doesn't have other good teams, and I'm not going to say Louis Vuitton, but hey, and I know we're both huge League of Legends people, so I mean, No,
I think, and that's one where, oh, really, you could, hyper luxury fashion brand can actually find a role with a game like League of Legends. 100%.
Right.
This is a scene. This is a game that has a lot of lifestyle value. It has a lot of kind of identity as these, and it's not just League of Legends. These esports titles are part of people's identity, and fashion brands like Gucci and Louis Vuitton are also part of people's identity. So I really love seeing things like that. And I think we'll continue just to see really kind of quite out of the box and partnerships that really test against what perceptions are of esports versus the reality of it being a very valuable audience. I liked with the Gucci or the Louis Vuitton and Riot Games reference, I like to mention that, that collection was ranged from $400 to $5,000 in merchandise, and it sold out immediately.
Yep.
These are not things where Louis Vuitton felt like they needed to hold back on their typical price points for their merchandise just because they were partnering with a video game, and it sold out anyway. I saw the Fanatic Gucci watch sold out. And it's not, and like I said, it's not even been a week. So those are great things, and I think we'll continue to see innovations continuing to kind of push the threshold there.
I paused 2 seconds there because, as they would say in a streamer's life, when he just went on a kill streak or something to his media partner, clip it, because we're going to clip that. What you just said there, clip it, because I can't say it any better, because it is an identity. I loved what you said there, an identity. These brands are not stupid brands. These brands are highly sophisticated. They have more money going into psychology departments than actual R&D. They have more money going into ad spend than actual R&D. So, you know, these brands get it, and they understand the numbers. When the Louis Vuitton case opened up in front of the Eiffel Tower and the trophy was presented, that immediately got my players, and these players, of course, they all make good money, but they have no reason to be spending thousands of dollars yet for their shoes. And they all went out and just got it to support their own game and to be a part of it. Are they ever going to wear it? No, it's not their style, but it's the collector's item. You know, it's that Jordan moment, and more of those Jordan shoe moments, like you said, in lifestyle merchandising. You look at 100 Thieves, FaZe Clan, and the new guild, which was Beckham. All three of them, well, two of them are extremely established, but they don't call themselves esports teams. In fact, everybody on the audience here today, right now, go and type 100thieves.com, or if it's .com.io or whatever, and FaZe.com or whatever, it's FaZeClan.com, and see if you can find where it says esports. Just tell me, send me a picture of their site, the entire site. Go scour the entire site and tell me where you see the picture of the players, the influencer, because they're not. They're the future Target brand. They're the future, you know, Macy's, because Macy's and Nordstrom were a conglomerate of different brands. These brands have shown they can be their own Macy's. They can be their own, you know, Nordstrom. So it may not be 400,000 square foot big box store, but a pop-up store in LA sold more pants, this is a true story from 100 Thieves, than Macy's ever did in the whole month of January, you know, right after. So that's a testament to what esports looks like. It doesn't look like esports at all. It looks like other things. It looks like lifestyle and merchandising. So I guess we already answered the follow-up question. Are we in a bubble? You said there's more to come. So I'm going to assume, no, we're not in a bubble.
I think when it comes to that, if you're thinking about esports from the investment side, the thing is that we are seeing is that there are a lot of startups, there are a lot of products, and there are a lot of esports teams.
Yeah.
And so it's about really understanding, you know, which ones, you know, which properties are really going to kind of last and stand out among the group. I think it's also important to look at, you know, the assets and where the revenue is coming from, and ensuring that the properties are, you know, have a good diversification of assets. And you're referencing, I think, FaZe and 100 Thieves are great examples of that, right? They have esports teams, they have influencers, they have cross-cultural, pop culture, lifestyle approaches. They have a whole business dedicated to merchandise. And so, you know, they're diversifying their assets a lot. There are a lot of properties in esports that are doing that. So from an investment perspective, it's really about, you know, making sure that these properties are set up to last, and are also, you know, have the right partnerships in place as well. When you're looking at franchise leagues, is there a lot of, do you have faith in the publisher and the league to, you know, continue to find new forms of revenue and revenue sharing and all those things. So but I have a lot of faith in the esports and gaming scene. I believe it's only going to be growing. And it's about, you know, really understanding this audience, understanding their user behavior, and how they consume product, because it's not the same as other segments, and being smart about those partnerships.
Yeah, I think I agree 100%. I think that if I had to give a percentage to it, I really truly believe we're under 10% right now as what the whole ecosystem looks like. If you want my honest opinion, I've said this many times on camera to my best investors and friends. I do think America, as its viewing, streaming, portion has hit a saturation point. And I think that if this is all that we get with the numbers, like there's not new kids being born and some of them aren't going to watch. So this is it. Of course, kids are becoming older. They'll move away and some will come in. But if we don't innovate anymore, and if we start bringing out just regular games, in all honesty, I thought Crucible from Amazon was just a regular game. It's nothing wow. It didn't pizzazz anybody. And now it's been 2-3 weeks. It's probably done anyway. So that to me wasn't an innovation. It wasn't smart. What Pokemon is doing now with their MOBA is extremely smart. That's what I'm talking about. And so if we don't get any more of that in America, I think this is about it. This is all you get. So you better squeeze the consumer as much as you can by adding more product, which is what you see happening. You don't see 17 new Twitches coming out, but you do see 17 new streaming this, additional that, emoji this, emotes that. So Twitch is always going to win. Twitch is always going to win. Apparently today we're supposed to hear some crazy underground news coming from China. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Dr. Disrespect. Didn't hear anything about that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did hear about Dr. Disrespect. And yeah.
So the underground news is to get a little spark going in the end of this conversation is that he was indirectly promoting a new up-and-coming Chinese streaming brand. Mm-hmm. And that we don't know when, how, when. And then he just put, we'll see on the 29th. And today is the 29th. So we'll see. And they permabanned him. For all the fans out there who don't know, they permabanned him, which was insane. And we'll see where he goes. But if you ask me, we're not in a bubble. I think in 5 years, we'll get to that 50% capacity. So we're about to go into extreme hyper growth. There's going to be a lot of small players, a lot of small teams left behind. My own team, we had to sell because we couldn't keep up with the growth 2 years ago. And so I think that's going to be a problem for the smaller guys and just a salivation for the bigger guys. They're just looking at this market like an open field. Last question we had was, not question, I just segued into the Dr. Disrespect thing. What happens to someone like Dr. Disrespect with so much command? Mm-hmm. He says, vote for me for president, and most likely he'll come in fourth. Not first or second, but he'll get a lot of votes. Now what happens when you get permabanned from the largest streaming services for God knows what? We can all speculate. But how about if tomorrow he says drdisrespect.com, come stream on my platform. It's free. You don't need to donate anything. I mean, could he get away with it, you think?
I mean, look, if he wants to stream on his own, website, he obviously has that right and ability to do so. I think it's really hard to compete with the platforms that have significant usage, daily active, monthly active users, that Twitch and YouTube have. And, that's what Mixer had a lot of challenges with themselves. And, that's why Mixer doesn't exist anymore. They doubled down. They tried to get Ninja, Shroud, and a bunch of really great up and coming streamers, 100% on their platform, spent a lot of money to do it. And, it's not that strategy didn't work in bringing, we saw Mixer app being, increasing but
it didn't work really.
But no, in the long run, it didn't really work. The viewership that Ninja and Shroud was getting on that platform wasn't necessarily comparable to what they were getting on Twitch previously. So the platform viewership and value that platform brings is crucial. And so, Dr. Disrespect could, create his own streaming platform, on his own channel. But the question is ultimately going to be about scale and growth, and is he going to be able to continue that? So I'm, it's one I'm keeping an eye on.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's just I'm thinking if a Chinese, just like TikTok, they come in with a large sack of money and they just do the mixer thing. From firsthand experience with streamers and players, they will take the money before anything else. That's my firsthand experience. If you tell them, would you like to go professional League of Legends or streaming with the same money? They'll always choose streamer. They will always choose streamer. I've never met a professional that said, I'd like to be a professional and be faker. Because they're just, money is money and time is time and time is money. So the reality is that I've seen a lot of people go, now what happens if Dr. Disrespect takes Tim the Tapman, Cloaksy, all of the like biggest Warzone guys and says it, and then a Chinese brand says, you know what, we'll just drop 20 million and whatever your contracts were, we'll double them and we don't care what you do, just come over here. See, that's the battle going on right now. It's 1970s NBA because all the big boys with big money are stealing the good guys and all the little guys with good platforms are like, wait, what happened? So super interested to see what happens.
Very interesting. I think also there's so many streamers. So, if there's an area that's thinned out on a certain platform, it's going to help be filled out by more up and coming streamers and empowering them to grow their channel and have a larger voice and a larger platform. So what's interesting is, these guys haven't been around quite as long as, if you're talking about this with a celebrity in traditional entertainment, it would maybe be a little bit of a different story because they're, these guys have been not necessarily around as long, and a lot of up and coming streamers who want to become the next big streamer too. So it's an interesting one. I mean, obviously there's a ton of value and a ton of love and loyalty and following towards all of these, top streamers. But it's also interesting to see what are they able to do versus, the power of the platform itself. So it's an interesting balance. And one, I'd say what we saw with Ninja Shroud and Mixer is a really great case study that, revealed a lot of interesting insights that, we didn't necessarily have before. So it
definitely
things continuing to grow and answers, continuing to be answered.
Yeah, you said case study. We got so much out of this for what not to do and for what not to pay. And if anything, the next streamer named Ninja, the next one coming up is saying, oh, shucks, you took away my free big paycheck, but it wasn't free at all. I hate the people on CNBC that got up there and badgered the deal. And it's what's that?
Yeah. That one, I saw that. That was ridiculous.
That's not necessary. It's and it's so unprofessional for them because they got everything wrong. And the fact was that this kid Ninja worked his ass off to get to where he was, and to get the deal he did deserved every penny of it because we were at that hyper growth stage. People were doing that with blockchain 2 years ago.
This is a thing, and we see this a lot, as it relates to like video games, streamers, esports, a lot of assumptions and a lot of like preconceived notions and just kind of almost like an embedded judgment, right? Oh, he streams, he streams for a living and that's weird. And I'm going to kind of look at it with a skeptic's eye, where the reality is, again, going back to kind of what I was saying earlier, this is a very social space. It's a very interactive space. It's one where, we've done a lot of data around it. People say this, streaming and esports brings people together. It brings like-minded folks together. It bridges gaps, it bridges cultures. But there's always going to be or hopefully not always, there's the stereotype of this being, kind of a niche, and the reality is it's already mainstream. It's here, it's established. But you get kind of hot takes like that, and something.
If anything, I loved it because now the next person coming on will sound so sophisticated, so knowledgeable that it's good for the industry. But if anything, if they're talking about it, it's good with us. It's good with us, and I'm happy. We'll leave it with this. Thank you so much for staying with us a little over time. Is there anything that Momentum is doing that you would like to talk about in the coming months? I know you just finished a fantastic campaign, or if there's stuff in the pipeline, what is Momentum excited about in esports as it pertains to these next, year or two and everything that's going on?
Yeah, great question. As it relates to esports, we're continuing to, really identify those opportunities. And, I'm thinking really quite strongly about the immediate opportunities that brands can kind of plug and play, during COVID or as COVID even hopefully starts to wind down. What are those ways for brands to immediately get in, get a win, get, a test and learn, but, doing something quite impactful and exciting, to help them grow strategies. So, continuing to work across that and and tracking all those trends and the various white spaces. There's a lot of white spaces that we, kind of identified that still exist during COVID, some that'll come back during COVID, once COVID ends, and, really looking forward to just helping those brands in their journey.
I had a question coming. Someone's watching the Twitch, just a few people, and I had a friend LinkedIn me. Ask Miss Tatiana if, okay, let me rephrase this. The English is a little broken. Okay. Would Momentum work with a brand that said, hey, right now is a tough time. Give us 6 months of your time and we'll work with you, like essentially work free for 6 months, because brands are, we don't know what's going on. We're Nike, we're Red Bull. And then we'll I'm sure in the 6 months after, I'm sure you've gotten that. I've gotten that already with Unilever, but what would that look like right now? Because, COVID and esports and we don't know. Come on. Just let's try a campaign. And if we like it, we'll do something together. Have you ran into that?
Things like that, like that pop up. Best response would be, let's take that conversation offline, see what it's all about.
Right. And I think, again, the streamers hate that, right? They're just like they're like, write me a check already. I'll put on whatever headphones you want, and that's the difficulty. But I think brands are around the corner. I really mean that. If we're under 10%, they're just about to come on, from everything from Payless to, Louis Vuitton is going to get in. I truly believe that. We've already seen the top end of that. I think we had an excellent session. We took more of your time than we thought, but it was an excellent conversation. We really appreciate it. Today, we learned about, how identity makes a lot of sense and what it means to the esports world, because these brands are an identity for the consumer. And now you're seeing, like Tatiana said, with Gucci getting in. And then we're seeing brands like what she just completed yesterday with Nutter Butter. Again, the cookie brand that is doing esports stuff. Some stuff you would never expect to get into esports just 6-8 months ago. And then we learned about the trends that Miss Tatiana thinks is coming up in the next, 5 years. And they're very exciting stuff. So that was a recap. I really appreciate you and your time. Thank you so much. If there's anything else, we're going to get going here, but thank you really greatly for your time. I can't wait to see you again after this COVID stuff.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Take care of yourself. Have a great day.
Bye.
See ya.